Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Okay. Part two of the 2025 Texas Parole Statistics wrap up. So, in part one, we went through the overall score and we went through the chart. And the chart told us and showed us that the overall parole rate in Texas was 39.99%, just a little bit under 40%. And within that, I told you the overall chart we looked at last was broken down by the guideline category. Okay. That guideline score consists of two different parts. They take the risk assessment score for every inmate, and then they look at how severe their offense was. They put those two things together, and then you get a guideline score. Okay. And if you remember in that video, we broke down that you want to be a 5, 6, or a 7 on that guidelines matrix to really increase your chances of making parole. And that's not a guarantee that if you have a certain score that you're gonna have a certain outcome. But just as a rule of thumb, I think it would be good to have a higher score as possible, 5, 6, or a 7. Remember, it was 1 to 7. We want to be 5, 6s, and 7s. All right, so cool. Let's get into what that actually looks like. First, let's look at the Texas risk assessment. So this is a actual copy of the Texas risk assessment. And as you can see, there are two different sets of factors here. So below, over here in this bottom over there, you see it says total static risk score. So that's total static. And then on this side, it says total dynamic risk score, excuse me. So again, there's two different types of risk. What they consider to be static, things that can't change, and dynamic risk, which is things that obviously can change. So we're not going to get into, I could do that another time, but I just want you to get a concept of how this process works for the parole risk assessment. So we're going to start over here at the top left. Number one, your age at first commitment, whether you were, and again, they have three different categories. So you get 0 points. The goal here is to have as few points as possible. So they say were you 17 years or younger, your ass get 2 points. Dang, I can't say cuss words. Your tail will get 2 points. If you got 18 to 25, you will get 1 point. And if you're 26 or older at first commitment, then you get 0 points. Number two, we're gonna look at the history of revocations. So, have you had no revocations, probation or parole is pretty important. One revocation or more than one revocation. If you have more than one revocation, they're gonna give you 3 points. So they skip from 1 to 3. They're showing no mercy. Okay, number three, other incarcerations. Was this your first time in the penitentiary, or have you been down here before? None, 1 to 2, 3 or above. Then let's look at number four, your employment history. Employment history. Were you employed prior to coming to prison, or were you full time in the streets? And they look at a 6 month window before you came to the pen. Number five, commitment offense. Um, for I don't really understand that why they would give you a point for those and not for any other crime, but whatever they looking at, what are you actually in the pen for? And then you would add up all those numbers on the left, and at the bottom left, you see where it says total static risk score. You would put the number there. Now let's go over here to the dynamic side of the risk assessment. And again, starting at the top, number six, current age, 45 or above, 35 to 44, 25 to 34, 25 and under. So 25 and under, man, they showing no love to the youngsters. So don't be a statistic, right? If you make parole and you under 25 years old, don't come back, because that's basically kind of what they're saying. I feel like if you get out, you really risky of coming right back because you just got here. Next, looking at number seven, STG, Security Threat Group membership. Are you a confirmed gang or organization member that is considered an STG by the state of Texas? Yes or no? You get 0 points or you get 2 points. That's why we be telling y'all to go to grad. Okay. Number eight, completed education, OJT, vocational programs. You got a GED or nah? Uh, you don't have a GED, then they're gonna give you 2 points. So get your GED, bro. A lot of times I see that math be really taking boys out. So count with your fingers and your toes, guys. Fingers and your toes. Okay, disciplinary conduct number 9. Do you get good time or have you been demoted in a line class within the last 18 months? Lost good time, all of that, zero balance of good time. They're looking at those things, they're factors. You can read those, kind of wordy. Moving to number 10, they're looking at your current custody level. Um, minimum out, minimum in, medium, close, or add seg. You're all getting banished with 2 points, 0 or 1. Okay. Then again, you would take all of those categories over there on the right. You would take this the number for each 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, and put those in the box down there, whatever your score is. Then if you go down to, let me see how I can do it. I don't know. Okay, I gotta move myself to then point down. Okay, right. Hold on, let me get right up on them. You see that right there? You see where it says total risk score? Add static risk and dynamic risk scores. So then you would add up your box over there on the right, excuse me, on the left and on the right, and then that will give you a score, right? So say the person scored a 7 as far as the risk assessment is concerned. Then we go all the way down here at the bottom. That will put them as a moderate risk, right? Because that will put them between 6 to 8 because they got a 7, so they're moderate risk. All right, next part. Okay, so now we just went through and we just learned how to figure out your risk level using the risk assessment tool. And now we have the matrix. Remember, I was telling you where they take the severity of your offense and your risk score and they mesh them two things together and then they come out with that for a read the title. Read the title. I said read, didn't I say read? Didn't I say read the title? Parole guideline score. Okay. That parole guideline score, when we looked at the overall for the state of Texas, right? We know we want to be a 5, 6, or a 7 because that means you're at least gonna be the average, if not more than the average. Uh, you're either gonna be average or you're gonna exceed the average chance of making parole. In Texas, again, last year was 40%. So we trying to beat 40% so you can be better than average. Give yourself a better chance of making parole. So now we got the matrix here. Okay, we're gonna break this thing down piece by piece. Look over here. You see this? I don't think I'm using my green screen right, y'all. I'm trying, but geez. Okay. So now all these gray boxes are saying men that have the highest risk, a 10 plus, medium risk, 7 to 9, moderate risk, 4 to 6, low risk is 3 or less. Okay, so they went through the whole test and they fall into one of these categories of risk: low, moderate, high, or highest, right? Then if you look all the way over here on the left, you see this? It says offense severity class. So the highest severity offense, I'm assuming, just say capital murder, okay? Down to the lowest, let's say minor possession of controlled substance. Not intended to distribute or sell it, just possession of a little 20 rock or something. A little 50, a little 50, a little 50, a little 30. But you got caught with it, now you're going to the penitentiary, okay? So now if you merge these two things together, they're saying if you are, let's start all the way over here on this column right here. Okay. So they're saying you're a low level offender, you're a low risk offender, and you have a low uh, severity offense. So you're a model inmate and you just down there on a little petty dope case, right? They're going to give you a score of a 7. Remember, 7s are making parole at like almost 80% in Texas. Okay. Let's say you are, so that's how it's going to work. You're going to find what your risk level is, then match the severity. Now, online, they say every year, every couple months, the parole voters in Texas, they go through and analyze how they're rating people on parole, right? Or excuse me, how they determine how severe an offense is. Okay, so that's something that can kind of change, but you know, I'll leave that to your imagination as far as how severe you think things are. Versus if you have the highest level offense. Let's go to this column, right? Let's look at this column far left. So if you're the highest risk and you got the highest severity, which means you've been a bad actor, you still acting bad, your chances are one. Remember I said what you don't want to be is a one in my last video? So that's how you end up being a one. And let me see. What we want to do 5, 6, and 7s, right? So you're looking at, let's look right here where it says moderate risk for males. Okay. So say you're a moderate risk, which is good. You scored out good on the risk assessment. And you have a moderate offense. Okay. That's gonna put you at a 5. You a moderate risk assessment and you got a high level offense, you have 40%. So 40%, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but 40% wasn't bad. So it's not just about and basically that's how you use that chart. That's how you merge the risk assessment and the offense severity for stuff in Texas and come out with a guideline score. Again, just to wrap it up so we can show you what we did all this computation for today was for these guidelines. These, you remember? Remember we looked at this? You remember? Do you remember? Remember guideline scores? And then we came over here and we looked at the overall rate. And then for like a 7, guideline score of 7, they have a 78% chance of making it. 6 is a 53. 5 is a 40. Guideline score of 4 give you 34.26. Okay. Anyway, hey man, news you can use, Attorney THP. Don't say I never told you, Parole Attorney TV. Man, do I got some fire finna drop soon. Y'all stay tuned for part 3. We're gonna finish breaking down these overall statistics for the state of Texas parole in 2025 last year. Next part we're gonna look at, I'll tell you there. Oh, we're gonna look at who did the best and the worst. We're gonna look at the best voters just in terms of what their approval rate was, the highest approval rate voters, the lowest, as well as the highest approval rate board region and the lowest region. Cool. See y'all in the next one. Peace.